So this week, Oscar released his most recent mod, Vanilla Vehicles Expanded Upgrades. So I thought, yeah, this is a great mod to review. So I started recording and I looked into the mod more, and the more I recorded and the more I experienced this mod, I knew that it was very easily going to score about 45, 46 out of 50, and a very solid A-tiered mod. And honestly, I thought that was boring. Love Oscar to pieces and his mods are amazing, but it was obvious that this is going to be a really high scoring mod. So I thought, well, Oscar's stuff is really popular, but what isn't very popular? So I did something that you probably have never done before, and I went to the very last page in terms of popularity on Rimworld for mods this week. And I came across a few mods without any thumbnails or anything, and then I came across today's mod. Today's mod being the Visastar Empire Rebellion Magnetically Accelerated Weapons. Whew, that's a very long title. And the more I looked into this mod, and the more I looked into this mod creator, in fact, the more I liked what I saw. And I wanted to see why this isn't on people's radars and why people weren't downloading it. So let's get into things and start with the Steam Workshop page. So let's start with the content of the Steam Workshop page. What is there and what do we see? So we start off with the thumbnail here. I really like the artistic touch on this. I quite like the personality that comes through with this. Everything is shown that's added in this mod in this one thumbnail, and that is it. Looking into the bulk of things, and we have a big old block of text here, tells us exactly what's in this mod, and then gives us some background of the lore and things like that. Would really love to see some pictures of what's been added by this mod, and obviously I'd want to see some ZIFs as well. Overall, we could definitely use some improvements here. So what do these weapons look like in game? Well, this mod adds 6 brand new weapons, building off the vanilla expanded coil guns to give us 6 new Gauss rifles and variations of that. So to start with, we have the Milam Mining Co. Asteroid Cracking Gauss Cannon. Next, we have the MJ2870. And then the MT2912 Assault Rifle, the MT2912C Carbine, the Petrova Sisters 270 Ares Shotgun, and the Tepes Arms Co. TP90. We have a nice variety here covering all the basic rifles and weapons: assault rifles, submachine gun, carbine, shotgun, and sniper rifle. This mod covers all the different types of weapons that we're expecting in Rimworld. So how do these weapons actually work? Well, now, because these are based on the vanilla expanded coil guns, these work exactly the same way as the Gauss rifles do in that mod. These are just taking those Gauss rifles a step further and developing them even more. So let's start with the mining cannon. So the Gauss cannon is literally what it says on the tin. It's a cannon that fires a Gauss bullet, not necessarily the most accurate, and fires one at a time fairly slowly. Next, the MJ2870. This one is extremely powerful. We'll look more into that in the balancing section. This one, extremely long warm-up time to be able to shoot this. Next, the MT2912 Assault Rifle. Funnily enough, it's an assault rifle. Shoots fairly quickly and does a decent amount of damage. Next, the MT2912C Carbine. And this one shoots several Gauss rifle bullets very quickly. This one is a little bit on the more powerful side. Next, the shotgun, and as you will expect, it kind of shoots several Gauss bullets all at the same time, just like a shotgun. Very effective at close range, and then obviously there's a lot of damage drop off. And then next we have the Tepes pistol, and this one I was kind of expecting to not be that powerful because it's a pistol, but this one actually does an extremely high amount of damage and extremely quickly, downing the colonists pretty much instantly from a very close range. So how do we access these brand new Gauss rifles and weaponry, and where are we going to make them? So in order to make them, we have to access them through a fabrication bench, exactly the same as we do with the vanilla expanded coil gun stuff. It's all made at a fabrication bench. Now, in terms of research, very interestingly, the only prerequisite is fabrication. Unlike mass drivers that's accessed through the vanilla expanded coil guns, that also requires some other things as well. So the mass driver stuff and the things from the vanilla expanded coil guns is not a prerequisite for this mod, something that I will talk about later in this video, which I think is actually a bit of an issue. So that's going to be it for the content section here, and like me, you are probably also as well pleasantly surprised at what's here. For a mod that's got barely any recognition in the past year since it's been uploaded, this is a surprisingly good amount of content here. Everything makes sense, and it's a great addition to the vanilla expanded coil guns mod and expands on what's already been provided with that mod. Now, yes, we could argue that maybe there should be a little bit more and maybe of a little higher quality, and maybe we could go into that. But for a mod creator that's had barely any recognition, this is really good. And I can be honest and true here when I say that I was genuinely surprised at how intuitive this is, how good it is, and how well it fits into Vanilla Rimworld, and how well it expands the coil guns Vanilla Expanded mod. For content here, not only am I pleasantly surprised here, but what's done here is really good and expands on what we've already got within base game and with the vanilla expanded core guns mod. So for content here, I'm very happy to give this a solid 8 out of 10. So next, let's move on and look at the quality of all the items that are added by this mod. Now, I think it's really important to note here that because this is all using the vanilla expanded core gun stuff, nothing here is necessarily unique, and we've seen all the different firing mechanisms before within that mod. So what we're going to be doing is looking explicitly at the actual graphics of the items here. So zooming in on everything, and yes, it's not the best necessarily, but what I really like here is the actual personality that comes through in all these weapons. They've all been uniquely designed, and I want to add that this has all been done by the one mod creator here. This hasn't been commissioned by anyone else. This one mod creator has done everything here, and I actually really like how much effort's been put in here. And yes, it's not the best, but I like the sort of arcadiness, the sort of Microsoft Paint graphic style here. I think it is a nice refreshing feel from what is so sort of stagnant and minimalistic from what we've got in the rest of the vanilla expanded mods. It comes across that there is love put into this, and whilst it could do with some improvements in terms of the texture quality, whether or the fidelity and things like that, I like this. I think this is nice, and I've seen previous mods, and like with Brian's stratagems, which I've previously reviewed, I like this design quality here. It's nice, I can see that it's modded, and it does the job, which is, you know, always enough. So for quality here, I like what's going on here. I really do, and I think the artwork is nice, and for me personally, it's got a nice personality about it. But it's not necessarily good enough, and I could definitely see some arguments that could be better. So for quality here, I like it, but we need to see just a little bit more here. So I'm going to be giving this a solid 6 out of 10. So next, let's move on and look at the balancing of the items added by this mod. Now, because these are all based off the vanilla expanded core guns mod that adds Gauss rifles, what I'm generally expecting here with all these Gauss rifles, Gauss cannons, Gauss pistols, Gauss shotguns, is they're all going to have fairly low damage but extremely high armor penetration. And if they do have high penetration and they do have high damage, there needs to be a accuracy drop off somewhere or other. Otherwise, the resource cost needs to be right, and I think there needs to be a lot of things taken into account with the research as well. So let's get into things and look at how these perform in terms of their damage value. So before we look at these weapons in an actual combat scenario, let's look at these statistics and the damage values and compare them to things where we can in base game vanilla Rimworld. So starting with the mining laser, this has a damage rating of 60. There is nothing comparable in base game vanilla Rimworld. So the closest that we could get is a Doomsday rocket launcher that has a damage value of 50. Moving on to the MJ2870, this is once again got no comparison in base game vanilla Rimworld with a damage rating of 80. The only way I could compare this is by combining two weapons together, the Doomsday rocket launcher and a charge lance of excellent quality. This is insane. I'm going to be expecting a lot of other variables to go into this when I'm looking at the actual combat effectiveness of this weapon. Next, the MT2912 assault rifle. This is directly pretty much the exact same as a poor rated charge rifle. This makes more sense, and we'll see with the rest of these weapons here, they all make sense for Gauss weaponry. The MT291C carbine is directly similar to a masterwork machine pistol. Gauss shotgun is also extremely similar to a normal quality pump shotgun. Fair enough. And then lastly, the Tepes pistol is very similar to a poor rated revolver. So generally speaking, as we can see throughout this, all the Gauss weaponry makes sense. They've got fairly low damage rating, but the armor penetration factor is going to be the main thing that comes into this. Apart from the two cannons, which are extremely powerful, everything so far seems to make sense. So how does this perform in combat against baseliners? So what I've got 4 colonists here. 2 of them will be equipping the weapons, all of them the exact same quality, and both colonists have got 10 in shooting. What they're going to be doing is shooting at 2 targets. One will be aiming at a colonist that's only got synthread clothes on, and the other one will be shooting at a cataphract. Now the idea here is that all the Gauss rifles have fairly low damage in terms of other weapons you can get in Rimworld, but they have extremely high armor penetration factor. So what we're expecting here is the colonist that's wearing cataphract armor to not take too much more damage compared to a colonist that's not wearing any armor at all. so the armor penetration factor here is coming through more so than the damage. So let's start by looking at the mining cannon. So the mining cannon takes 2 shots to kill the first colonist that hasn't got any armor, and then looking at the cataphract after the first colonist has died, whilst it doesn't look like they've necessarily taken too much damage, they have lost a limb. Like, they have lost an entire limb. So we could potentially say that the colonist that's got no armor on has gotten a little bit unlucky here, and that's why the cataphract is still standing. Next we have the MJ2870. Now obviously this does a hell of a lot of damage. A ridiculous amount of damage, an unfathomable amount of damage. 80 is insane. So the first balancing point we've got for this is the extremely long aiming time. This takes an age to actually aim and then get ready to fire. So I guess, you know, if you're coming up against fast moving targets, then yes, they will have the advantage. So when it comes to actually shoot, the first colonist gets obliterated, head torn straight off. There was no chance for this. The first shot for the cataphract misses. The second shot, however, obliterated. Once again, there was no chance for either of these colonists surviving. Yes, I understand that for the balancing point, it does take an awful long time to shoot, but I could argue and say that it needs to take even longer to shoot, just because we've got a weapon here that will one-hit kill pretty much anything. Then next, the assault rifle. This one does pretty much as I was expecting. It does kill the colonist without any armor and then only downs the cataphract, but I mean, this is just chance. I mean, it could have gone the complete opposite way depending on factors that I couldn't control. This to me seems very fair. Moving on, let's look at the carbine, and very interestingly, the cataphract actually goes down first here, followed closely by the colonist. Now, interestingly, I don't think the damage is the issue here. The fire rate here is insane. This is brutal. We definitely need a reduction in fire rate for this one more than the damage. Then next, the pump shotgun, and very interestingly, once again, the cataphract is the first to go down. Very quickly followed on by the colonist, who tries to run away for some reason. I don't understand why they've done that. But once again, the fire rate here does seem a little bit high. There's going to be a definite trend here with the previous weapons and the weapons we still haven't seen. The fire rate seems to be a bigger issue than the actual damage value. Then lastly, the Tepes pistol. And as I've kind of alluded throughout this video, this one might be a little bit on the more powerful side. Now, I fully appreciate a pistol will generally have a faster fire rate than a shotgun. A pistol will generally have a fire faster rate than a sniper rifle. But this is ridiculous. There's no stopping it. It just keeps going. Like, there's no break, there's no nothing. This needs a huge nerf, in my opinion. We need a reduction of damage or fire rate or something. Let's either keep the armor penetration factor high and reduce the damage hugely, or let's increase the amount of time it takes to shoot. This one for me is arguably more overpowered than the one-hit kill rifle. So next, let's look at the research costs here. Now, as we can see, generally speaking, these are quite powerful weapons. They're Gauss weapons. We're expecting them to be powerful. And obviously, we're going to be then expecting the research cost to be quite heavy. Now, in order to access the weapons within this mod, we have to research the one research option that this mod has given us, and this costs 1500 research points. The prerequisites are only fabrication, which is actually more than what is required of the vanilla expanded coil gun stuff, which requires fabrication and one other tech. So the assumption here is the stuff that's added by this mod is potentially worse than what's been added by the vanilla expanded coil guns, which, as we can see, it definitely isn't true. The research cost here is the big one for me. Just having a prerequisite of fabrication is just too little. For something that's very late game, I was honestly expecting at least advanced fabrication here. So the research cost for me is just too easy to access for the player, and especially if we're getting a one-hit kill weapon, and especially if we're having a pistol that literally fires faster than the speed of light, I think we need a little bit more of a barrier to entry here. So next, let's move on and look at the balancing of the items added by this mod in terms of their resource cost. Now, I think generally speaking, this mod creator has kept in mind the vanilla expanded coil guns mod and tried to make their mod as similar as that mod whilst also expanding on that. And that follows with the resource cost here. Everything that's added by this mod costs some plasteel and some advanced components. Now, I think this is a good amount, and I think this makes sense if the balancing was the same as the vanilla expanded stuff. I think if the balancing of the actual weapons themselves is a little bit better, the resource cost here wouldn't be an issue. But at this current moment in time, where we have a pistol that literally insta-kills things, and we have a one-hit kill sniper rifle thing, the resource cost doesn't seem as much. So yes, the resource cost makes sense. if we have some changes in the future. So that's going to be it for the balancing section here, and I think generally speaking, balancing has been attempted by this mod creator. What we need to understand is this is just one person making all the items within this mod, and all the things that have been balanced is done by one person. So I am going to sort of allow for there to be some mistakes, because I'm a nice guy and I understand that everybody's got to start with something. But the balancing isn't quite there. We have a rifle that upon hit kills things, we have a pistol that shoots way too quickly, and we have a submachine gun that also shoots way too quickly. And none of this is then balanced by extremely high research cost, and then the resource cost as a result seems a little bit low. I think what we need, generally speaking, is a fire rate reduction for every single weapon that's added by this mod, and I think we could arguably say that we need a decrease in accuracy for every single item added by this mod as well. Everything seems a little bit too accurate, and that doesn't quite sit right with me for Gorse weapons. But otherwise, I think the damage values are generally great. Even the more powerful weapons, yes, they do a lot of damage, but I think that's great. You know, we got to have that variety, and for Gorse weapons, it makes sense. The main thing for me, accuracy, fire rate, resource cost, research cost. It's a few things, but none of them are huge. The base work for a good balanced mod is here. We just need a few tweaks. So for balancing, for me, I'm going to be giving it a 5 out of 10 in its current state. So next, let's move on to the compatibility. Are there any bugs I need to let you know about, and how this fit with your playthroughs? Now, as you guys are aware, I play with an extremely small mod list when I come to review these mods. I have Camera Plus, I have Harmony, and I have a mod that lets me build pretty bases as a background. So when I loaded into Rimworld, I had my very first mod error come up where it just gave me some red text. Now, in-game, I had no issues at all and everything worked fine, and I just ignored it. But there is that there, so maybe just be careful depending on what mods you're using this with. Now, looking at the Steam Workshop page, there were no comments for this mod. This mod's comment section was very lonely, and I'd love to see you guys commenting your feedback on this mod for this mod creator. But yeah, there are no reports of bugs anywhere. I had no issues. It's just loading up. I had a couple of red lines here. Nothing to necessarily worry about, honestly. Then how will this fit in with your playthroughs? Now, very interestingly, I funnily enough don't think Gorse weapons fit in with the medieval era, the tribal era, and arguably not even the industrial era. This mod, because it is based off vanilla expanded coil guns, will fit really, really well with the vanilla expanded universe, and I can definitely see this being an additional mod to add to your playthroughs using the vanilla expanded stuff, and I think that is a fantastic point for this mod. However, it's coming across to me in all the other mods that this mod creator has made, and this mod in particular is all based off a certain theme, and I don't know what that actually is. And whilst we're going to go into the mod recommendation section, you'll see what I mean when we get there. So yeah, for your playthroughs, it's going to be a little bit more niche, but it does build on what is already provided in the vanilla expanded universe. So for my compatibility score, I'm going to be giving it a 6 out of 10. So next, my mod recommendations. Now, as I just said in the compatibility section, some sort of theming going on with this mod that I didn't necessarily understand, and I wanted to learn more, because genuinely, I'm very interested as to why this mod creator has mods haven't been performing as well as they think they should be. Because I really do like this mod, and I think this mod creator has got some potential here. So I went into the mod creator's Steam profile, and I found this. I found a list of other mods that this mod creator has created, and they're all part of the same universe, the same theming. This mod creator, despite having less than a few hundred downloads across the board for all of their mods, has created their own like vanilla expanded universe here for their mods. And I think that is so nice to see. And I know for a fact that because this mod creator doesn't have hundreds of thousands of people downloading it, they haven't got loads of people giving them feedback, this mod creator has probably put their heart and soul into it. Looking at the other mods as well that they've created, they are giving people updates of the changelog and everything, despite them not having much feedback. This mod creator genuinely cares. And whilst my mod recommendation score isn't necessarily going to be the best, because genuinely, I in the nicest way possible, I did struggle. Because I could only fit this with the mods that they've created, and I could probably recommend the vanilla expanded stuff as well. It was so nice to see that they've created their own mods to go with this mod, so you're always going to have other mods to play this with. So yes, there aren't too many mods that you can use this mod with because of the unique art style and the unique theming of this, but it fits in with its own little universe that the mod creators created, and I think that is so sweet. And honestly, it makes me like feel emotional, because like, it's so nice to see a mod creator taking so much pride in their work, and I think that's amazing. But my mod recommendation skill, there isn't too much going on, honestly. I couldn't necessarily recommend too much, and it's very niche in its theming. So I'll be giving it very comfortably a 5 out of 10 again. So now for my conclusion, I think generally speaking, this mod doesn't actually add that much. It doesn't really do too much. The balancing is a little bit off. The quality could be improving. And yeah, this doesn't really fit in with too much. And I did have a bug that came up as soon as I loaded into this mod. But what we got to bear in mind, that this mod creator hasn't had pretty much any feedback on any of their mods. Looking through their profile and everything, none of their mods are getting feedback, and they haven't been getting feedback from the community as to where they need to be taking their mods and where they can be improving. This mod creator is just doing things for the love of things. This mod creator quite clearly loves making mods and making mods that fit within the universe that they've created, and it's genuinely touched me. Like, I wasn't expecting to review a mod that was the least popular on the Steam Workshop page at the time of recording, and seeing this whole like persona come through of this mod creator being this guy or whoever they are have made these group of mods that all fit together, that they've just done it as a passion project, and it's so nice to see, especially on the internet as being as weird as it is. This genuinely made me feel good about myself, and seeing that this mod has been made with love and care, and whilst also providing decent content that makes sense and expands on the vanilla expanded coil gun stuff. So for content, I gave it 8 out of 10, quality 6 out of 10, balancing 5 out of 10, compatibility 6 out of 10, my mod recommendation score was 5 out of 10, giving it the grand total score of 30 out of 50, which is a very low rated B rated mod. So yes, I think we do need some improvements here and there. The balancing definitely needs to be worked on. I'd like to maybe see some updated sprites for all the different weapons to be a little bit more clear and have a better texture fidelity. And yes, I understand that this doesn't necessarily fit in with many mods, but I mean, you can just chuck it in with your vanilla expanded stuff and I promise you'll be fine. So like I said, I'm genuinely surprised at how good this mod actually is, and I don't understand why it's one of the least popular mods on the Steam Workshop page at the current time of recording. I genuinely do not get it, and I highly, highly recommend you guys, I'm practically begging you, please check out this guy's mods, and please check out his other work and tell him I sent you. So if you have enjoyed today's mod review, consider liking, subscribing, and make sure you tell your mum about me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.